Sports, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Oh, yeah. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo. Look up on the wall. There on the wall.
Good Friday. Boston domination. Zach, we look like geniuses, don't we? I mean, that was domination right off the bat. But you know the truth is, series is not won or lost until a home loss appears. And so Boston wins game one. Do you realize the number is 70%? 70% of the time, the winner of game one in a series wins the series. But that makes total sense, doesn't it? Because if you are playing game one at home, you've got home court advantage. If you're the visiting team and you win game one, you've stolen home court advantage. So that makes perfect sense in my mind, 7 out of 10. This thing is not any close to being done. First of all, Kyrie Irving won't play this bad again. Eli was correct. Since he stomped on the center logo, he's 0 for 11. 0 for 11. And the boos, he says, I thought they'd be more vicious. Come on. I think it affected him. I think he's human. I think he's a little bit older, too. I don't think you can see, consecutive 3-4 consecutive games of excellence out of him. He seems to have to struggle through a game or two in each series. And so I'm not shocked by that, but I would be shocked if that continues. I think Kyrie Irving will end up with a great game in game two or certainly in game three when they go home. This is 2-3-2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, which to me is silly. I love 2-2-1-1-1. That seems to be the most competitive way to go.
Wait, they went back to that model again?
No. They do 2-2-1-1-1 for every series except the championship series. And a part of that stems from the old days where you used to have Boston and L.A., and they didn't fly charters. They would fly commercial, and it was too hard to do that. So they said, we'll do it like baseball, 2-3-2. And that's what they've always done, and they've kept that in this championship series. I forget what they say the reason why now. I don't quite get it, but that's what they do.
This is my first time hearing about this.
Well, you're still young. You don't realize that every other series has been 2-2-1-1-1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this series is 2-2-1-1-1 as well.
It is?
Yeah.
Really? Because it's been 2-3-2 is what they have done. Let me just check. Not saying.
I was kind of confused. I was like, wait a minute. How'd they slip that underneath my nose?
All right, so the next game is June 9th, correct?
Right.
And it's
in Boston.
For some reason, this thing won't do like it should. Here we go. In Boston, then June the 12th in Dallas, June the 14th in Dallas, June the 17th in Boston. You're right. It's gone back to 2-2-1-1-1, which is good. I like that. And it makes that part of the reason why I said in 6 was because I thought that game would be in Boston. And it may change the way I think about that, but anyway, I was impressed with Porzingis. How about you? Here's a guy who hadn't played in 20 games, right? Comes in, supposed to be on minute restrictions. Now, he scored 20. 18 were in the first half. Did you see him take shots in the fourth quarter?
No.
Like he had no legs. He was wasted. He could still play defense, but he had trouble jumping and garnering any kind of offense because I think he was just wiped out. But I was so impressed with him. Obviously, Jaylen Brown is terrific. Here's the thing. Everybody's going to, Luka got his numbers. He got 30 points. And I agree with that. You know what Luka got with assists, where he averages almost 10 assists a game? You know what he got? 1 assist. You know what what the Mavs had through 3 quarters last night? 5 assists. Now, a lot of that is Boston's defense. They take stuff away. But that was incredible. 5 assists through 3 quarters. Luka Doncic, the complete guy on the offensive side of the floor, he could muster only 1 assist the whole game. If he only gets 1 assist, there's no way the Mavs win. Just telling you that.
I agree.
We'll be talking a lot about this with Andy Schiffman. He comes your way at 10:25. My friend Tim Doolin, who's about to join us here in a minute. Tim said there would be 7 SEC teams in the Super Regionals. There were 5. He said there would be 5 that would make the College World Series. Those 5 still could. He actually picked 10 out of the 16 regional winners, which is fair, right? I mean, if you're betting, that's pretty good, 10 out of 16. And he's going to talk College World Series and a whole lot more. The Tigers' new portal people all signed yesterday, or most of them did. I think we're still waiting on a couple, but they're all here, so they're going to sign. And we'll talk Tiger hoops. We'll talk Tiger football. Lester Quinones was in town. Brian Dacus will end our week. That comes your way in the final segment of the show. By the way, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl gets its 24 date. It'll be the 66th playing of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. It will be Friday, December the 27th. I really love New Year's Eve, but it's a Friday night, so that's not bad. It will be at 6 o'clock. I've dug a little into this. I don't believe there's been Friday football games for the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, but never Friday night. There are like 4 college games, though, that day. And I'm not sure, but there could be NFL playoffs that night, too. I know it's in between college football playoffs, but that's the date. Friday night, the 27th, ESPN, a 6 o'clock kickoff time. And with all the added teams that the SEC, well, the 2 that the SEC has added, I've got to imagine there will always be an SEC team now in this, as long as this contract continues. There will be an SEC team in the bowl, and with the Big 12 and its revamped thing, there will always be a Big 12. So the opening that the Tigers got last year to play in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, I don't think that's ever going to happen again. Or at least in the current contract setup. Because of the addition of teams Big 12, SEC, I don't think Memphis or the AutoZone Liberty Bowl will ever be shortened, not have a team available from those conferences. They're down in the pecking order, no question about that, especially the SEC, which is why they've not gotten a team a couple of times. But with the addition of those 2, now, now you think about it, if they got enough in the playoffs, that could probably ruin it. But I think they're pretty secure in getting one of those teams.
I think so. I think it's a numbers thing.
It just depends on how many SEC teams make the playoffs. I mean, don't you think there's going to be at least 4?
Possibly. Maybe more. Maybe.
Certainly no more than 1 more.
Yeah.
But you've got the 4 power conferences plus the the seat at the table. That's 5. So there's 7 at-larges.
Right.
So I can't see them really getting more than 3 out of the 7 at-larges. Maybe some crazy year they could get 4, but don't count out the Big Ten. The Big Ten has just as much exposure and clout as the SEC. People here tend to forget that. But if you look at television revenues, SEC is not number 1. To the Big Ten, it means just as much.
Yeah.
They make actually more television money at this point. Now, with the addition of Texas And Oklahoma, that may change in the next deal, but it, at the moment, is not the way that it works. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and a reminder, you want to get there this weekend, take full advantage of the summer party. It's the summer party sale. 24-foot above-ground pools are under $2,000. Ladders, filter systems, those robotic cleaners that work, man. I finally got a robotic cleaner that works. They're under, well, you're getting 20% off. Patio umbrellas, 20% off. Play gyms, $1,000 off. Select in-patio furniture, 50% off. You can't beat it. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Wooden Road. You'll smile when you walk in the door. You'll see Billy Connolly right there. Say hello to him. Tell him we sent you. And really take advantage of what's going on at Family Leisure. And Sunday, I might see you out at Miramichi. I know you got to call early to get a tee time, because Miramichi is one of the gems of our area. It is that golf course. It is in Woodstock. It is 12 minutes north of downtown, 22 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis. And when you get there, you get to the place of happy retreat. Back 9, you got a waterfall and a meandering stream and hills and dales. It's gorgeous. It's really pretty. It's front side, more link style, very open, very pretty, and can be really hard if you want to play the tips. But they've got 5 different tee box selections. You can make it to the level that you want. It's a great experience. It's by the way, a great little clubhouse, good place for a beer and some food afterward. They've got a deck that overlooks 9 and 18. They serve food now on the weekends there, and it's the best. It's the best view in all of Memphis golf. All you got to do is get there to Woodstock. You will appreciate Miramichi, the place of happy retreat. I know a guy who's always happy to go out to Miramichi. That's our friend Tim Doolin, who, you picked 10 of the 16 regionals. You had 7 teams going to the super regionals from the SEC. So you got 5 there. That's pretty good. 10 to 16, if you were a betting man on each one of them, you came out ahead. So I would say a pretty good call. And your biggest prediction, 5 make it to the College World Series. That is still alive. Do you really think still that will happen? Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I feel really good about 4. I think Florida is kind of my wild card. They're playing really good. I did pick them to win their regional, and they did. They've got one of the top probably 3 or 4 players in the country. If some argue that he would be the best because he's a two-way guy, one of their best pitchers and hitter, Caglione. So if they were to sneak in, I feel good that I could get to 5. I think Georgia's going to win theirs. I think A&M's going to win theirs. And so I think it's going to be a great super regional weekend. And what's crazier, and we can talk about it later on the show on another day, but the portal is just crazy. It's as crazy as basketball and football. And it's never ending. You see guys from really good teams that have put up monster numbers that are jumping in the portal to go either get into a better conference and put them in a better position for the draft next year and or get paid. And so it's just it's never ending. And unfortunately, we're talking about and seeing things like that instead of focusing on the who's going to get to the College World Series. But it's very exciting, that's for sure.
Was ECU the one that hurt most in the portal? Who were the most affected?
I mean, their ECU was affected, and you got several SEC schools where guys are jumping in the portal. You got Louisville's got a ton of guys in the portal, which you would never have assumed that guys would leave Dan McDonnell and that great program. I think more than anything, Wolo, is that we're at a crossroads with some of the veteran coaches. Tim Corbin fired his hitting coach and another assistant. Guys that have really built a culture and a tradition of winning year in and year out. Dan McDonnell and really Cliff Godwin and what he's done, not in a short period of time, but in a period of time at ECU, his alma mater. You really got to, and in my opinion, you got to adapt with the times. And the times are that players that are getting in the portal they're not getting in the portal to go to a school to buy into a culture. They're not going to learn the fight song. They're going for
Money.
selfish reasons. Well, it's not so much money. Money's a factor, but just think about this: if you're a pitcher and you blew up at a mid-major, and you want to go prove to major league teams that you can pitch in the SEC, you want to go somewhere where the pitching coach has a track record of developing major league players. So you want to get better. You also want to play in that league. And then, getting paid is important, but that's not the main reason you should get in the portal. Because at the end of the day, you get paid $100,000 to go somewhere. But if you're not putting yourself in a better position to elevate your stock in the draft for the next year, it's kind of a moot point. And some guys have made those decisions, and it's backfired on them. Yeah, they got paid, but they didn't get to pitch on the weekend in the SEC. They'd have been better off staying at a mid-major and being a Friday night starter where they could put up monster numbers and probably go in the second to fifth round. So I think you're going to see guys that better buy in to making adjustments in their coaching philosophy, or those guys, much like Saban did, they're going to retire because they don't want to fight it. And I understand that too. But it's definitely, times have changed, and you got to adapt. And,
all right.
so there you go.
The main reason you think a guy gets in the portal: playing time, a coach to develop him to get to the big leagues, money, NIL. Which one?
Well, I think it's a combination, but Wolo, you got East Carolina center fielder, played 56 games, put up monster numbers. He's getting in the portal. Why? Well, because East Carolina, A, is not going to a super regional. A, they're not in a very tough conference. B, this player is saying, if I hit 350 in the American, then pro teams discount that. The SEC is the toughest, and I'm not bragging on them. The ACC is good, but so he's getting in the portal to prove to the teams, that major league teams, that he can do it at the next level, which is the SEC. Go do that in the SEC, and now all of a sudden you've made money in the draft. So I think it's not just one reason. Yeah, there's guys going to get in the portal because they didn't get to play enough in the SEC. Well, they're not going to another SEC school because they didn't play. And the Power 5 schools that are recruiting these players right now, they're looking for guys that have done it. So if you're a mid-major player and you put up monster numbers, they're recruiting you. They're not recruiting the junior college player like they did years ago. They're not recruiting as many high school players. I'm talking right now to all these guys, and I'm having to educate our players in our organization. Hey, you better get your sights on a mid-major. Don't just say I have to go to a Power 5, because they're not recruiting you. The only high school player that these Power 5 schools are going to recruit are the kid that out of high school could be a third to sixth rounder and hopes that he doesn't sign professionally and comes there. That means that player, most of those players, are ready physically, polished-wise, ready to compete as a freshman in the SEC or the Big 12. But that doesn't always be the case, because there's freshmen that were at SEC schools this year that turned down $1 million+ that didn't get on the field this year in the SEC because they weren't ready.
So you're saying,
crazy.
From what I hear, a school like Memphis is now becoming a feeding ground for Power 5, for the Big 12s, the SECs, and the ACCs. So you're other than a guy who might go to the minor leagues, or in years past would have gone to the minor leagues, those are the only high schoolers that those major conferences are interested in. The group of 5 is about to become a farm system for the Power 5 or Power 4.
That's exactly what it is. And I've talked to several mid-major head coaches that I've got relationships with, and they trust my opinion because I've got my pulse. I got my thumb on the pulse of all these high school players and what they're doing. And I think it's a great recruiting tool. I'm going to recruit Dave Woloshin to a mid-major and say, Dave, here's the deal. I'm going to help develop you. If you blow up, I will help you go to a Power 5 in hopes that if I do what I say I'm going to do, I hope Dave, meets his future wife and loves it here and says, you know what, I'm just going to stay. I love it here. If not, he's going to leave. So he's going to leave anyway. So go ahead and recruit him and tell him that on the front end. At least you're being transparent with the athlete.
So you got the 5. Let's go over these games, these regionals, super regionals. Tennessee and Evansville. Tennessee is a major favorite in this game. Congratulations to Evansville making the super regionals for the first time. That one is Tennessee still your overall favorite to win the College World Series?
I think them and Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, top to bottom, is as good as any team in the country. They're not playing as well as Tennessee is right now, which is totally relevant to say Tennessee is the favorite. But they've got as good of the depth of pitching and defense and hitting and power as anybody, and Tennessee is too. So it's hard to say, but Tennessee is definitely they got it going on. They had it going on a couple years ago and got upset, but I do think that they are the favorite. And they'll hands down will win that regional.
And then A&M's got Oregon.
Yeah, well, I think Oregon will give them a little bit of trouble. And again, if A&M's top 3 hitters stay cold, that could be an interesting series. But I still like A&M in that super regional.
And then Florida's Clemson.
I think Florida's going to win that. I think they're playing too good right now. And Clemson, although it's good, Eric Backus has done a great job with that club, bringing Clemson back to where they were back in the late '80s and '90s. But I'd have to go with Florida.
Oregon State and Kentucky.
I think Kentucky, hands down, is another one of the top teams. Oregon State's got one of the best players in the country, but they're going to pitch around him and make other guys beat him. I think Kentucky wins that super regional.
And North Carolina State at Georgia?
I think Georgia. I've got 2 players that I represent there. I've been able to see those guys play a lot this spring. They've got the best player in the country, and Charlie Condon. Probably the best college hitter I've ever seen, and I've seen a bunch, including Rafael Palmeiro, Barry Bonds, Will Clark. This guy's unbelievable. He's leading the country in home runs and RBIs, and he's just phenomenal. And he had a subpar weekend last weekend, and I don't see that happening again. Wes Johnson, in his first year after being in LSU as their pitching coach and in the major leagues with the Minnesota Twins, has done a remarkable job of kind of piecemealing a pretty good pitching staff. And they're at the friendly confines of playing in their home park, which is just short of a bandbox. So I think you're going to see Georgia win that regional too.
So you still have 5 making Omaha. We shall see. Last thing, Tim Doolin, our man on baseball. Did you watch that softball last night? Because I did.
I did.
I really, since I've been doing some of the women's games, Memphis games on ESPN Plus, I've really come to enjoy the game of softball. The Tigers don't play the same kind of brand of ball that these elite teams do. Oklahoma won their 4th straight title. Their seniors, when they had a 4-run lead, never relinquished that lead. This stat I don't think I'll ever hear again. When they had a 4-run lead in a game, the Oklahoma seniors, who, by the way, won 4 straight national titles. They won 41 College World Series games or NCAA tournament softball games. 41-4 was their overall record. When they had a lead of 4 runs, they were 201-0. And this is crazy stuff. That's their 8th championship under Patty Gasso, who is their head coach. That's tied with Arizona for number 2 all-time. UCLA has 12. That's just crazy stuff with this 4-year stretch for Gasso and her team that they've produced.
Well, I know Patty, and I know her husband and her son really well, and what she's been able to do is short of remarkable, and just she never has to rebuild. She just reloads. Last year, she lost her number 1 pitcher who got in the portal just to go close to play closer to home, and they didn't miss a beat. And so, just a complete team defense, team speed. Obviously, I think they said last night 47% of their runs were generated this year by home runs. So that tells you that they've got monster power, and obviously she's got the formula. She does it year in and year out. I think she's going to continue to do it. It'll be interesting to see once they get in the SEC, and the SEC is good in softball. I don't think that it's quite as good in depth as the Big 12 was. So I don't see her slowing down at all.
Wow. Good stuff, Tim. Enjoy your weekend. We'll do this again next Friday.
All right, well, thank you.
That is our guy on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. He's brought to you by the Spirit Shop. Yeah, that's Eddie Connor's place right at the corner of Poplar and St. Nick, straight down from Clark Towers, that little log cabin. You've passed it by a million times. If you haven't gone in, and most of you have, because it's such a great location, so easy to stock up on your weekend spirits, go in, talk to Eddie. You'll be amazed at how much product is in there. And then get an education, because Eddie and his staff, they love to do that. They'll tell you about the rare spirits they have in there, like unbelievable bourbons or maybe the newest tequila. They'll tell you all about that. They'll tell you about the middle ground spirit that may be something that's going to come on. They'll tell you about the up-and-comers for sure. You might find out about a wine that's going to be really good tomorrow but is really fairly priced today. Get the education, stock up for the weekend. Go to the friendly place with the great people. That's Eddie Connor's Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We take a break. We're back in a minute. To Chicago we go. We'll talk NBA with Andy Schiffman.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, locations at Ridgeway in the Parkway Center, Poplar Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Highland Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? Well, Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has helped over 35,000 families out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares, and they may be able to help you too. If you were misled into signing a timeshare agreement that is a lifetime commitment, if you were told timeshare is a great investment or your maintenance fees will never go up, you need to get the facts about timeshare cancellation. For over 10 years, Wesley Financial Group has been dedicated to helping folks get out of a lifetime of debt by canceling their timeshares. So they created a timeshare exit information kit, which reveals how the timeshare industry works and what your options are for cancellation. Simply call Wesley right now and they will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free. See how you can become timeshare free. Call 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000. Again, 800-761-0000.
The headlines remind us daily, the world is a dangerous place. The elites in charge say everything's fine, stop noticing. But you know better. And your gut knows that time is short to prepare for a world that is 4 missed meals away from chaos. My Patriot Supply has helped over 3 million families become more self-reliant and is the company Americans trust to prepare. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contain delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Secure at least 1 food kit for each family member. For a limited time, save $200, plus get free shipping on all their Ready Hour 3-month emergency food kits. You're not ready if it's not Ready Hour Foods. My Patriot Supply also has solar-powered generators, water filtration units, biomass stoves, heirloom seeds, and critical survival gear. Shop MyPatriotSupply.com today. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 5 Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Back to Wolo and friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
Cruising through our Friday. I always love going to Chicago. Speaking to our agent from Priority Sports, that would be Memphis' own Andy Schiffman. We've got Boston winning game 1 at home. We all know the series really doesn't begin until a team loses a home game. But we also know 70% of the time, the team that wins game 1, they are the winner of the series. What's going to happen? Good morning, Andy Schiffman.
Good morning, Dave. I think that Boston is going to be crowned NBA champion this year. But I will say, and I firmly believe, and I have been wrong more often than I have been right on this show, but I think Dallas is going to come out Sunday and really compete. I don't necessarily know if they'll win, but I will say that I will not be surprised if Dallas steals game 2 in Boston. I don't think we're going to see a repeat, especially in that first quarter last night, them just getting demolished. I think a big X factor, which is obvious for Boston, is the return of Porzingis and just his overall impact on the game last night. And on a night where Jason Tatum really didn't have his best performance, didn't shoot the ball well, he had 6 turnovers. But again, you have to pay attention to him on the offensive end just because who he is. And then you've got Jaylen Brown going out there. I think, 3 blocks I think I saw for Jaylen. And Porzingis, I think, was just overall phenomenal last night.
I was shocked by his performance after all that time off. Now, he was gassed in the fourth quarter. He couldn't score, but he could still defend. Here, 2 thoughts. One, it's interesting you do note that Tatum, by the way, had a double-double, right?
Exactly.
Tatum had a bad game. He's not going to have a bad game like that again.
Right.
But Kyrie Irving was awful.
6 for 19. Didn't get a 3.
I promise you he will not be that bad again in this series.
Yep. And then you've got, you have Derek Lively, obviously, foul trouble last night, and he usually is much more reliable, especially on the defensive end, rebounding and protecting the rim. So if they can keep him out of foul trouble, and then if you can get some sort of better offensive production, you'd like to think, just like you said, Kyrie's not going to go out there and shoot the ball as poorly as he did last night in game 2. If you can get some productivity, increased productivity off the bench, our guy Tim Hardaway Jr., I'd love to see Jason Kidd play him more. Played 7 minutes.
Yeah, is he in the doghouse? What was the story on that?
I don't want to divulge a whole lot. I think it's been frustrating in general, just very inconsistent. But again, he is an offensive microwave off the bench. Why wouldn't you go out there and give him an opportunity to get hot like he can? He just really hasn't played a whole lot since the OKC series, and I don't really know what's going on there, but they're going to need him. So I would love to see him get more opportunity. They've got to find a way to slow down Boston. I think I think they're Dallas, right? I think it's less about Boston, but it's more about you, and you've got to find a way to come up with some sort of productivity because you're not going to stop 2 out of 3 of Porzingis, Brown, and Tatum. You might try and contain one of them on any given night, but you have to look inward and go out there and step up in game 2. And I think they can. I think they're here for a reason. If I'm not mistaken, every series win to get to this point has been an upset as a 5 seed. I think they're going to be more competitive, but I do think Boston eventually will win the series. Maybe it goes 6 games, let's say.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Dallas come out and compete in game 2, and I think we'll see that.
If I had asked you yesterday in this time slot, had that been your day, you would have said Boston in 6?
Yeah,
That's exactly what I said. It is exactly what our producer extraordinaire, Zach Boyd, said.
Great minds think alike.
Apparently so. Let's shift gears here just a little bit to the looming soap opera that is the Los Angeles Lakers, always is. And you had, there are two disseminators of NBA information, right? Woj and Shams. And one of them had Riddick all the way until yesterday when Woj dropped the Woj bomb that it's Danny Hurley. And Hurley had a meeting with his team. Hurley is scheduled to go interview in L.A. L.A., they say, is going to drop a massive offer to Danny Hurley. Your thoughts on what the heck is going on with the Lakers? Where is LeBron James in on all of this? Could there be a door cracking open here that is saying maybe LeBron's not going to be in L.A. next year?
Well, to that point, I would be very surprised if LeBron is not in LA. I still stand by my forecast that somehow the Lakers are going to add Bronny to their roster this next season. They're not drafting him at 17, but is there an agreement in place where they can somehow take him in the second round, give him a little bit of guaranteed money or even a two-way to try and pair father and son together next season? I still think we'll see that. But yes, this coaching debacle, I'm not a believer that the Dan Hurley proposal is going to work out for the Lakers necessarily. I think you look at history of bringing college coaches and successful college coaches to the NBA, whether it's John Calipari years ago, John Beeline recently with Cleveland. Generally, and again, every situation can be unique, and you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. I just don't think that would work out. I think it's a different animal, the NBA, and I think managing egos is vastly different, especially when you look around a locker room full of guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I'm not necessarily here to say that JJ Redick hire would be that much better, but I do think there's some level of respect given to a fellow/former NBA player, a successful one at that. I think that JJ would be able to command a little more respect and be able to relate to guys a little bit differently and better than a Dan Hurley. And if you're Dan Hurley, behind the scenes, are you using this opportunity as more leverage to go back to UConn and strike a bigger deal there? That could be in the works behind the scenes. I'm not really a fan of the platform that Dan Hurley has here and just continuing to exclaim he wants to be in UConn, he never wants to leave UConn, and UConn this, and how much he loves it, and do everything he can to get players back at UConn to go out there and try and make it a three-peat. And then now all of a sudden you see everything going on in the media with him associated with the Lakers. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that's counter to his message of loyalty, and I have some personal stories in that and players that we've worked with at UConn that are coached by him and the message given to those players, and it doesn't sit well with me personally. But again, I'm not going to fault the guy for going out there and trying to be the next head coach of the Lakers and chase a dollar and give it a go. But I would prefer to see him remain in Connecticut. I would like to see the Lakers go after a JJ Redick or maybe one of these other assistant coaches that have been coaching in the NBA for a while that you've seen have success. You saw the Grizzlies do that with Taylor Jenkins. You see Utah that with their coach and Jensen. And so and Hardy, rather, one of their assistants, Jensen, who's going to be a head coach in the NBA. I don't really know what the Lakers are trying to accomplish. JJ Redick does not really have any coaching experience, but I would put him over Hurley if I'm Rob Pelinka and I'm trying to manage this coaching search.
In defense of Hurley, and keep in mind, I find it very questionable that he could be a great NBA coach. First off, I think he's nuts. I really do.
Yeah.
I think his X's and O's are fantastic.
And it's endearing to some, not to me.
No. I watched him do insane things when we played UConn a couple of times. Like one time, his first year there, and he had a bad team, he literally during a TV timeout late in the first half, he went to the logo, got it on his hands and knees, and started pounding the logo. I mean, just insane stuff. And I don't know, the way he coaches with the intensity, I don't think he could do that 82 regular season in.
Exactly.
I think he'd end up killing himself. But
and just with the egos that you have on an NBA roster.
Well, yeah. And they're not going to take the abuse that he gives players. I don't see that for sure, but I think he would have to change his tune a little bit if he could. But in defense of him, when he said, I love UConn, I would not take another, he said, I would not take another college job. So
right.
He's never ruled out going to the NBA. And if the Lakers are crazy enough to offer him $100 million, how can he not take it?
I don't fault him for that, exactly that, Dave. I wouldn't fault him for taking that. I mean, I think any one of us would take that. I don't know. I look through a lens of loyalty and kind of doing right by these college kids, but it's hard for me to think he's doing anything wrong by going out there and pursuing something like that. I get it. I don't think it would work out, me personally. If he does take a deal like that, let's say it's a hypothetical, let's say it's a 5-year deal, $20 million a year, right? That's something that is within the realm of possibility. I would not imagine that he would be there all 5 years.
He's making, what is it, $5 million a year?
Something like that with UConn, yeah.
Maybe can get them to go up to 6. I don't know, but look,
you can go, if you're a
to
successful
me,
NBA coach, you can go out there and get 15 to 20 million a year.
Yeah. If it's a
but
massive
you've got to have
deal,
success.
right? Wait a second. If they're trying to lure him with a massive deal, Tyronn Lue just got 5 years, $70 million, right? What is that, $14 million a year?
Mm-hmm.
And Spoelstra got $120 million. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get Spoelstra's deal. I think he's going to get somewhere around the deal that Tyronn Lue got.
Yep.
So if that's the case, how can you turn that down? You can always go back to college athletics. Somebody's going to hire you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't disagree with that.
Crazy. All right, last thing. Are these television numbers, not rating, this new TV deal that some say will be basically, I think it's $7 billion a year for 11 years, $76 billion all told. Is this for real? And if it is, what does that do to the cap? Because we know it's 53%. So where would that put the cap now? And what would a superstar max contract look like?
Well, it would reach unprecedented heights, that's for sure. Since I've been an agent in this industry, I started 12, 13 years ago. At that point, the salary cap was around $92 million, and it's increasing exponentially every year. I think now it's over $130 million, and it's going to eclipse $140 million more than likely next year. The cap, as it stands, is going to increase at the very least 10% over the foreseeable future for the lifespan of this current collective bargaining agreement. So obviously, so much of the basketball-related income, the quote-unquote BRI that is referenced throughout negotiations with the NBA and the Players Association and the new CBA, it is derivative from this TV deal. So you're talking about a new TV deal with NBC, I believe Amazon, ESPN, in the NBA, $76 billion, what that will do to the cap. I do not think it is outlandish to think that within the next 5 or 6 years, if this does come to fruition, you could see a salary cap closer to $200 million, which is insane. Well, and you talk about what that does to max contracts. You could see
$100 million
first year upwards of 60, 70, 75 million dollars. It's insane.
Well, think of it this way: if it indeed is $6.9 billion a year, that's what it would come out to. That's 2.5 times the amount of money. I'm assuming that your cap would be 2.5 times what it was. Wouldn't that make sense?
That would definitely make sense.
Oh, crazy. It is nuts.
Yeah.
As always, my friend, I always appreciate chatting with you, and we will do it again next Friday. We'll be right in the middle of this final series, and I'm sure there'll be more news to talk about.
Sounds good. We'll see what this series looks like then.
Yep, you got it. Andy Schiffman, our agent in Chicago with Priority Sports. He's brought to you by Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf, who says April, May, June, those are fantastic months to sell your house. And well, he told me the market's been crazy hot since really the beginning of the year. What's ahead is even better. More buyers in the market. Rates are incredibly reasonable. All that won't get better is just his golf game because he's too busy working for you. He's got a strategy. He calls it the 3 Ps. He's as good as it gets. He gets you to the closing table quicker than anybody else. He'll tell you talk to 2 or 3 other brokers. Just make sure he's one of them, and then you'll find out the strategy, and you're going to want to use him. He's that good. Sheldon. That's 483-0546, or you can find him at memphisrelocate.com. Our week is coming to an end. Brian Dacus, you listen to him with Brett Norsworthy every day from 3 to 6. He's here in just a moment.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Buster's Butcher at 199 South Highland Street in Memphis. We're a full-service butcher shop offering a curated selection of quality meats, cheeses, prepared foods, and more. At Buster's, our skilled butchers are also experienced chefs. They'll be delighted to guide you on selecting, preparing, and cooking our fine selection of products. We're like nothing else you can find in Memphis. Learn more at bustersbutcher.com and come see why every cut counts at Buster's Butcher.
Make your next grill your last with a Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on fuel, eating out, and replacing expensive grills that cannot match the flavor of the Big Green Egg. Ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes? With temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Middle of summer, weekend almost here. We end it with our friend Brian Dacus from Sportstime on Sports 56. He's brought to you in part by the Eflin Insurance Team. You know, they do insurance the collaborative way. They want to sit down and get to know you. How else can they best protect your home, your car, your future with life insurance? They want to get to know you, figure it all out, find out what your budget is, and then they will protect you. Same to mid-size small businesses. That's what they do. They get to know your product, your employees, of course you. They forecast you out. Then they will protect you with the perfect commercial insurance. Once they find out that budget, all you got to do is make the call to 901-386-GER. That's 4777. It's GER because they're big Tiger supporters. Get protected the collaborative way with the Eflin Insurance Team. Brian Dacus joins us now. Apparently, They're all here. All the players, as he had asked for June 1st, Penny Hardaway, they're here.
Yeah.
Is this enough to be a good team?
Yeah, I mean, I like the roster that he's put together. You know, if they can go out and get one more guy, I think that'd be great. But
he's going to sign one more guy.
Yes,
he himself told me that.
Yeah. So
now I don't know.
Sure.
Is it a splash?
Well,
is it a rotation guy? One need for sure. That is wing scoring. You need, I think, a bigger guy.
Sure.
And I think he's got to be proficient at threes. If he rebounds and defends, fantastic. But you got to have some more firepower outside than Colby Rogers.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So yeah, definitely, get one more guy. But I definitely think getting this team here early is definitely huge, especially when you think about Nicholas Jourdain's the only guy from last year's team. So this group's gonna have a lot to learn and have to learn Coach Hardaway's system and everything and learn how to play together, and so that obviously takes time, and so I think getting them here as early as possible, which is what they did, I think that's huge, and sounds like a lot of those guys spending a lot of quality time with each other because what else are you going to do in the middle of summer? So I think it's great.
Team bonding.
That's right.
Who do you think that next acquisition would be? I know Kaluma's still out there. That would be my number one.
Sure.
Of the three that linked, that were linked to possibly coming. Brazil, who stayed at Arkansas, was a very good player.
Yeah.
John, I'm sure, had a pony up on that one.
Sure.
And then the kid from Florida, Jameer Watkins. Where did he end up going?
I don't know if he's committed anywhere yet. I know.
He put out a list, and Memphis was not
on his list, right? I think probably St. John's.
St. John's is just racking it up.
Sure
Rick
are,
Pitino's doing a hell of a job. But Kaluma, Arthur Kaluma.
Oh, yeah.
Of the three, I thought he was the best fit anyway. But a lot of people want him, right? His price tag has to be high.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a guy that I think a lot of schools would want to have, and a guy that went to Kansas State last year, before that at Creighton, and I remember, he was one of the bigger names in the transfer portal last year, and so, had a really good season last year at a Kansas State team that I think was a little underwhelming for what they expected.
They could have used Naquan Tomlin for
certainly, 100%. So, hopefully, they can maybe get in with him, and obviously are already in with him, and, if you believe the reports, a lot say that, Memphis right now is the favorite, and obviously with David Jones leaving, maybe you have more NIL money that you can
significantly more money.
Certainly,
really good money.
And supposedly, if you listen to the reporting that's done, is his team, his people, himself. Saw what happened with Naquan last year, coming to Memphis and, having success. And, I've heard a lot of people say that those guys are still tight, and so if that's true, then I'm sure Naquan's, speaking well about Coach Hardaway and this program. And so I think Tigers have a good shot for him and would definitely be a huge addition if they could reel him in.
In terms of team fit, I think Kaluma is actually a better proposition than David Jones coming back. And just not sour grapes.
No.
I love David Jones.
Sure.
I'd love to have David Jones.
Of course.
But, David Jones has some flaws. He's only 6'3".
Yeah.
He is not a great defender.
Sure.
And he turns the ball over, and he's got to have the ball a lot. He took 31% of the Tiger shots last year.
Yeah.
I don't think Kaluma would need that kind of ball time.
No.
Would certainly be a better defender. I don't know if he'd be the scorer, but you got enough scorers on this team.
Excuse me, good Lord.
This chokes you up.
Yeah, it choked me up a little bit. I think, he comes in and certainly I think, wouldn't be the scorer, but certainly adds a lot of scoring, and I think that's great. Kind of that bigger, wing forward, can kind of, play him in multiple spots. And so, I love this fit. If he was able to come, and I know a lot of people are kind of on that train of, let's go get him. He'd be a great fit. And so, I don't think he would be as ball dominant as David Jones was, but, would certainly fill a lot of needs, I think.
Who else could be out there besides Kaluma?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, we're starting to get real late in the cycle. I mean, I know there's a couple guys, but now you're seeing, and I think late in the cycle. I know Zach said this a couple weeks ago that there's almost like 3 different, big dates in the transfer portal. There's that first wave when it first opens. There's that second wave, right when the transfer portal is about to close, and then there's that third wave of guys coming back.
This is what I call
draft.
the end game,
it
and
definitely
this is where price gets inflated.
And that's exactly my point. I mean, you look at who's the guy that went from Utah State to Washington, and supposedly he's getting like $2 million to make that move, and so I think we're already seeing Coleman Hawkins, who was at Illinois, tested the draft wires and came out and is has pretty much basically said, I'm going to the place that can give me the most money. And
highest bidder.
I think a lot of guys are seeing, hey, it's getting late in the game and teams are getting a little desperate, I think, and those price tags can go up, and so it's all about the money now.
The DJ decision, and I'm going to pair this with another story. Betting on himself, much the way Lester Quinones did.
Sure.
Now, Lester was in town yesterday. It was great to see the highlights of him. He said that was his first youth camp. He did it at a church.
Wow.
First time ever, and I think he really enjoyed it. Now, he's a guy who bet on himself and originally got a two-way, but then didn't get the two-way. So he made like $40,000 that year, where he would have made $300,000-400,000 here if he had come back, and that would have been a great year for Memphis had he come back. Last year, 33 games on a two-way contract, which is going to be parlayed into an NBA contract. He begins negotiating that July the 1st. Most people think he's going to get a standard NBA contract. So that is good news for him, but it didn't happen right away.
Right.
I mean, is DJ's decision? I don't see him getting a two-way, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it definitely, I don't see it, and we talked about this last week, just, it was on no, mock drafts or draft boards, even if you went down to the second round. And so, I think I was texting with some people that just cover college basketball last week, and, one of them said, it feels like he had to have had a workout that went well and had to have been promised or told, like, we really want you on a two-way to maybe give him that confidence. But you're right, with Lester, and we saw how confident of a player Lester was when he was here, and took that confidence with him, and had to start in the G League and really tore it up, and was able to get that two-way like you said, and now looks really good to be a guy that can play a role for Golden State.
Well, there are now 90 two-way positions, right? There are 3 per team if they're used. Second round guys are all getting two ways, right? So that takes away 30 of them. So there's 60. Is Lester is David Jones going to be one of those 60?
Yeah,
that's the next question.
Definitely.
Only time will tell on that. Both Penny and Ryan Silverfield and the whole athletic department, I think they set a record for APR this year, and both those guys got $10,000 bonuses. I guess in those regards, it's been a pretty good year for Tiger Athletics. There were several teams. It's 1,000 is a perfect APR score. Several teams like golf team, maybe rifle team, that always seems to be good. They got perfect scores.
Oh yeah, no, it was awesome to see, and I love they get those bonuses, and I think it's something that they really take pride in, and really want to build their teams on that. And so I was glad to see it. And you mentioned Ryan Silverfield, massive weekend for Tiger football.
I was going to ask you that. I know they got a big offensive lineman,
big quarterback coming as well, big running
QB?
back.
Really?
Oh yeah, they've got.
Give me names.
So Antoine Hill is the quarterback, 4-star quarterback from Houston County in Georgia. His teammate is also coming, the offensive lineman, both 4 stars. I think both have pretty much said it's down to, I think Antoine Hill, the quarterback, it's between Memphis and Florida. And I believe the offensive lineman is down between Memphis and Florida State. So a couple Florida schools. But both, seem to really like Memphis, really like what Ryan Silverfield can sell. And now with, this new age of college football with the expanded playoffs, for him, Antoine Hill, the quarterback, I read a story about him a couple weeks ago where he said, Florida is telling me come in and sit for a couple years and then I'd be the guy, really know the system as a junior or redshirt sophomore, and said Memphis, not comparing the two, but kind of in different spots, was saying, Memphis, they're saying, next year, Seth Hennigan will be gone and we're going to have a quarterback battle and you can come in and right away compete for that. And so I think you're able to sell that to guys now. now and then sell that, look, we're putting together teams that can be the best group of 5 school. And now with FedEx, we've got the money to make it happen. And, we can compete and do that. They've also, and I didn't know this until this morning, they've also got a kid coming this weekend, a running back. I forget his name, but he's committed to Penn State and will be here this weekend on a visit. So I think 15 total. I think 3 4-stars, a whole lot of 3-stars. So it's going to be a massive weekend for the Tigers.
Ryan and Tim Cramsey can easily say Paxton Lynch, Riley Ferguson, Brady White, Seth Hennigan,
Crazy.
4 unbelievable quarterbacks with an unbelievable offensive system.
Yeah.
Come. We'll make you a star.
Absolutely.
We'll make you a star. You'll be a star, 3 o'clock today. As always, we appreciate you for ending our week.
Thank you, Dave.
We'll be listening to Bryant Dacus and Brett on Sports Time coming up in a few hours. Final portion of the week brought to you by Grind City, not only known for their beer, but a great place to watch concerts. When's the last one you were at? Was that a few weeks ago?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. I was out there. I love it.
Could it be better weather than to see
no, not at all.
a concert tonight
it's
at
perfect
Grind
weather.
City Brewing? I mean, seriously. I went and saw Sister Hazel last night at the show. Weather was great. It's great to go. No rain tonight, baby. And temperature is incredible, and there's no better place than Grind City. I'm serious. The view of the city lights, the bridges,
beautiful.
the setup with the picnic tables, and then of course there's the beer, Poppy's Pills, the lager, the Blue Moonish, Belga. I mean, they got it all. It's a great place. They had a dream, a father and a son, and since that dream was just in the beginning stages, it's become a reality. They take care of business in Memphis. They are Grind City Brewing. That'll do it for us. We'll see you Monday. Johnny Radio's next. Have a great weekend, everybody.